Welcome. We're doing a deep dive today into some, well, really profound ancient prophecies. We're focusing on concepts like the last week and the Great Tribulation.
That's right. And our mission, really, is to navigate through some complex sources, Matthew, Daniel, Thessalonians, Revelation, planks, to help you understand the key events, figures, and the timelines involved.
Exactly. And we'll be particularly unpacking this idea of the Abomination of Desolation, what it is, and, its critical role in kicking off this really intense period. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, what's fascinating is how these different texts seem to converge on this one crucial prophetic period, this last week, and within that time frame, the Abomination of Desolation. It really stands out. It's presented as the signal, the trigger for the start of the Great Tribulation.
Okay, so it's the main signal. What does it actually look like according to these sources? Matthew 24 talks about seeing it in the holy place, and that's the cue to flee. It warns of unprecedented suffering following that.
Right. And then 2 Thessalonians adds another layer. It brings in this figure, the man of lawlessness. Some translations say son of destruction. And this figure actually sits in God's temple, proclaiming himself as God.
Wow. Okay. And Revelation, does it add to this picture?
There, definitely. Revelation 17 gives us this really vivid image, doesn't it? A woman riding a scarlet beast. She's dressed lavishly, holding a golden cup full of abominations. And she's identified as Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, and quite graphically, drunk with the blood of saints.
So are these different things or related?
Well, this is key. The sources strongly suggest they're equivalent. The Abomination of Desolation seems to be the same entity as the man of lawlessness, the son of destruction, and this harlot of Babylon. It's like different facets of the same anti-divine power. And its appearance, its standing, marks the start of what's called beast rule and the Great Tribulation itself.
And Matthew mentions those days being shortened for the elect.
Exactly. Matthew 24.22 has to be cut short, otherwise no one would survive.
Okay, so that's the signal. What about the timing? Daniel 9 talks about a week, which we understand as 7 years, right?
Correct. A 7-year covenant or agreement. And Daniel says that in the middle of the week, sacrifices will cease, and this abominable object appears.
But middle of the week? Is that precise? Does everyone agree on what that means?
Well, no. There are different views. Some think it means the beast rule starts during the first half of the week. Others take it literally right at the 3.5-year midpoint, meaning the beast rule is the second half. And a third view is just, somewhere within that final 7-year week.
So some ambiguity on the start point. But what about the duration of this rule?
That part is consistent. Across the board, this period of intense rule, the beast rule, is described as lasting for half a week, which always works out to 42 months or 1,260 days, 3.5 years. That figure is remarkably consistent.
Okay, 3.5 years, that's specific. Now, Daniel 12 calls this Great Tribulation an unprecedented time of trouble. But you mentioned the days being shortened. How does that work alongside the idea of transformation and avoiding plagues?
Right, so amidst this intense period, there's this element of divine intervention for the elect. 1 Corinthians 15 talks about the last trumpet, the 7th trumpet. And at that moment, there's an instantaneous transformation or resurrection for believers who have died.
And 1 Thessalonians picks that up.
Yes, 1 Thessalonians 4 describes Jesus descending, the dead in Christ rising first, and then those who are alive being caught up, the rapture idea, caught up in the clouds to meet him in the air.
Matthew 24 also mentions a trumpet call, right? Gathering the elect after cosmic signs.
Exactly. The Son of Man appears, gathering the elect with a great sound of a trumpet. So this 7th trumpet is huge. It's the moment of gathering, but it also marks the start of the third woe and the beginning of the 7 bowl plagues being poured out on the earth.
So the sequence is crucial. The saints are gathered, then the plagues fall.
Precisely. They are caught up before the 7 bowls hit, so they don't directly experience that final wave of judgment on earth. For them, in that sense, the days of tribulation are shortened.
Okay, so what about these plagues? What happens after the saints are gathered?
Well, they sound pretty devastating. Sores on people, the seas and rivers turning to blood, the sun scorching people with intense heat, darkness over the beast's kingdom.
Sounds intense. Any standout?
The 6th plague is quite detailed. The Euphrates River dries up. This is explicitly to prepare the way for kings from the east.
Kings from the east. Any idea who that might be? Is there a historical parallel?
There is. Historically, Cyrus the Great diverted the Euphrates to conquer ancient Babylon. Symbolically, many interpret these kings as Jesus returning with his heavenly army. Also, during the 6th plague, These frog-like unclean spirits emerge. They go out to gather the kings of the whole world for battle.
The Battle of Armageddon.
That's the one. They gather at Armageddon, which means Mountain of Megiddo, a place with a long history of significant battles, kind of setting the stage for the final confrontation.
And the seventh plague, the final one.
The seventh bowl brings a massive earthquake like nothing seen before and huge hailstones. And it culminates in the final judgment of great city Babylon, the harlot.
The harlot who was riding the beast.
Exactly. And here's a dramatic twist described in Revelation. The beast, the political power, realizes it was deceived or used by the religious-like power. So the beast and its allies, the 10 horns, they actually turn on the harlot and destroy her, burning her with fire.
Wow, like the political power finally rejecting the religious power that influenced it.
Precisely. There's a strong parallel drawn sometimes to Ahab and Jezebel in the Old Testament. Jezebel, religious influence, used Ahab's power, political, to persecute, but ultimately judgment came, and she was consumed. Similar dynamic here.
So we've covered a lot. The abomination as a signal, Daniel's timeline, the escape at the last trumpet before the final plagues, and then Armageddon and the judgment of Babylon. It's quite a picture.
It is very vivid, often challenging text.
Yeah.
They paint a picture of intense global events, yes, but also moments of clear divine intervention and protection for the elect.
And that idea of the days being shortened really sticks out. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? How understanding these complex prophecies might shape your own perspective on, well, on readiness, whatever the future holds. Something to really mull over.